And there we go. Okay, and with that, today we're going to be making a box about this size. This one's actually 2 inches on the side here and 2 inches high. I chose those dimensions because it's easier to make and it works well with the camera, but you don't need to be restricted to that size. Here I've made one that is larger. This thing's about 3 inches on the side and 3 inches high. And if you want a different design, I went for a jade look and stamped in it with some rubber stamps that have got some, what looks like Chinese script on it. And again, this one is considerably larger. Did a coral inlay on that one. And finally, for a really big one, if you make the sides bigger, you can actually come up with something that's even larger still. This one is 5 inches on a side and 5 inches high. And I was working on some marquetry techniques, so I used marquetry for the inlays on this guy. But anyway, for today's demo, we will start off with just the 2-inch size and go from there. So we're going to come up with something about this size. I'm probably going to end up with a different design because it's what I do. And to start,
you are recording.
I am recording. I've got a strip of cardstock here that is 9 inches wide and 2 inches high. I made it. So I'm going to use cardstock for this and a single strip. You don't need to do that. You can use individual triangles if you want. It just made it easier. But I'm going to take this cardstock. I'm going to put a mark every 2 inches so that when I start playing with it in a bit, I can make triangles. And I started from the left side here and marked off. And you notice since I've going 2 inches and it's 9 inches wide, I've got a strip over here on the end. This little triangle here is not going to be a part of anything. I'm going to turn this around and again, start from my left edge, probably because I'm left-handed, and mark every 2 inches. And then I'm going to take my straight edge and connect these dots basically. And you will see the triangles emerge as I connect everything up this way. So that this one gets connected up there. Find this one, mark it, connect it up. Find this one, mark it, position and connect it up. And then connect these two. And take my last little dot here in that corner and connect them up so that they give me that line. And like I said, this triangle and this triangle are going to be thrown out. I'm going to turn this around, again, because I'm left-handed for the most part, but just to confuse everybody, because it doesn't really matter. It is fully symmetrical. I'm going to then draw lines in the other orientation. And as I said, I'm doing this for the sake of making the small box. If I made the bigger box, like the box that's 5 inches on a side, I made individual triangles. So each triangle was 5 inches along here, 5 inches in this dimension, as well as 5 inches in that dimension. Makes these diagonals a little bit longer. I think they come in at about 2 3/4. Yeah, they're just a little over 2 inches long. But all in all, that's the way things work out. I'm then going to take my X-Acto knife. The first thing I do is cut off these little corners that I don't need, because I'm going to end up folding this thing to form the inside of my box. What I really want is to make a base for the box, the inside of the box, so that the clay has got a form that's going to adhere to when I bake it. So cut these off. And then I'm going to come along, and just because I've got to fold it, I'm going to score these guys again with my X-Acto knife. I don't need to cut all the way through. I just need to make enough of a mark that when I try to fold it, it will fold nicely. And in case you're wondering, this was a cereal box in a previous life. Always end up grabbing cereal boxes and cracker boxes out of the trash and using them for various and sundry projects. Comes in handy that way. So I'm going to cut along each one of these lines. And again, I'm not cut all the way through on any of them. I'm just trying to make enough of a cut that I can fold it easy. I'm slightly paranoid, so I want the cardstock to be on the outside and the printed side of the box to be on the inside. In case there's some ink that's going to try to transfer to the clay, I want the ink on the inside. And one last shot here. Score that guy. Okay. Now that should fold easy along each of these marks. And you can see it does, because I've cut most of the way through. Folds really nicely. And as I bring these two ends together, you can start to see that I'm getting the shape for that small box. Unfortunately, I've got some Scotch tape just off camera. So I'm going to come along and tape this inside edge. And I find the easiest way to do that is to get these two sides fairly flat, bring them together, press down on the tape. And that is the basis for my box. Now, the problem I've got is that it doesn't hold its shape while it bakes, and it doesn't really hold its shape while I'm working with it. So to get around that challenge, I've cut two squares that are also 2 inches on a side. So these will make the top and the bottom pieces of my box. And I'm simply going to put them in the box. Actually, the easiest way to do it is to put them, start them down there at the bottom of the box. Fold my tape up, get that guy inside, and stick him down to the tape, making sure that he's pretty much inside on all sides, because that way he will help hold the bottom square while I work with it and bake. Doesn't need to be neat, just needs to hold it. And then again, I'm going to take another piece of tape. It's hard to put two pieces of tape on the top, so I'm just going to use one. Put that guy in here, and tape it down, and then I can just kind of push him into the box using my X-Acto knife to kind of leverage it in so that I get this little piece inside. And again, the goal is to get it to hold the shape. I don't need it to be exact. I just need enough structure that the thing is going to hold its shape while I work with it and while I bake. So anyway, I now have my box shape. That, this is cardboard, but it's the basic idea behind what I'm going to end up doing. I've now taken a piece of clay, and this guy, I run through the pasta machine on the a thick medium, a little thicker than just bare medium. And I've got this strip long. Again, it doesn't need to be. It was easy. Since I'm only making a small box, I don't need a seriously long strip. If I was doing this for the large box, I end up making individual triangles and then putting them together. But for this, just a single strip is sufficient. So he's over 9 inches long and he's over 2 inches high. So what I'm going to do is simply wrap him around my box. It's getting a little bit cold, so let me warm him up just a touch. My hands are really warm, so it warms up quickly. I'm going to lay him just on the cardboard and wrap it around the box. This is the inside. It's not going to be seen by very many people, but it does need to be a tight fit to the box. And so I'm going to take my blade and find, you can see I've got an edge right along here. I'm going to take my blade and just cut right along that edge. I said I'm going to take my blade and cut right along that edge. Things never work in a demo, regardless of how many times you do it outside the demo. So I've got that right on the edge, the edge of one of my sides of the box. So I can then come back around and make sure I get everything down firm. Put a little bit of crease in the corners to kind of help them stay together. My lid just came loose. I'm going to put him back in because I am pressing against him a little bit as I'm forming things, and I don't want to lose it. The base came loose. Okay. The clay is not going to stick to the cardboard. That's okay. I pressed down firmly enough. I put a crease in there. You can probably see it. It's right along here. So I'm going to cut along that crease. It should be what I need in order to finish the box. Whoops, wrong crease. That's okay. So I'll show you how you do it when you need to use individual triangles. Put the lid back in place. Put you around. I need one more triangle. So that last triangle is going to be, needs to go in here. As I said, things never work in a demo. So I'm going to crease this guy. So I've got my triangle. He goes up along here, just like that. So he should just kind of fit right into here. Good. Now then, all I need to do is to work these seams up. Once I put another triangle in there, I now have these seams that I have to put together. I'm having trouble with this lid today. I don't usually have this big a challenge with it. There we go, got the lid. And kind of work the seam together. Work this seam together. Make sure I get them secured so they won't come apart when I'm baking. I know that happens because I have done it more than once on this particular type of idea. In, I say, in, there we go. You do need the lids, the top and the bottom to be in there. As you're doing this, you are pushing against them a little bit, and they do tend to change shape if you're not overly careful. So we've pretty much got them together. So that's got that last triangle in there, and that you can see it's E. If you need to make this with individual triangles, you can do that the same technique. I'm now going to use my blade and cut this clay off at the base of the cardboard. Because I still need to put a base on this box, a base out of clay on the box. And once I've got that done, I will come back and trim up the top. Okay. Maybe I'll trim the top now. I'm gonna trim the top right now. Again, I'm going to come in and trim this guy along the top line. The cardstock I don't need to see, I can actually feel where that is. And that lid just is not going to stay put. That's okay. We have ways. We will get it together. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. As I mess up that lid. In. I say, nope, too far in. Want this corner in, thank you. And that corner goes in. There, got it. Okay, I have split the seam open, so I'm going to seal it one more time, making sure it stays together this time. Smooth out a ridge I've got over here. Seal that up. I'm going to take these scraps of clay and run them through the frost machine a few times so that I've got clay for the base. It's nice if it is rather clean. You don't have a lot of scrap. You don't want to make this out of scrap because although it is the inside of the box, people will see it when they open the box up and look inside. So try to keep it reasonably nice looking inside there. Okay, that is good. The piece is big enough. And once more, I put the lid back together. In all honesty, I have never had this big a hassle with a lid in my life. I've made quite a few of these little boxes and bigger size boxes. But when you're doing a demo, there seems to be some odd thing that happens that just has to go wrong. Taking that down. And then with my blade, come along and cut along the base on all four sides. So it's pretty well trimmed. I find that I need to trim up the corners a little bit since they tend to get just a touch rounded. So I'll do that. Now that I need to pick this whole thing up, and that base is not attached yet, it's just sitting there. So then with my fingers, I'm going to pinch all the way around the edge. so that everything is now tight, fixed. It isn't trying to come loose on me. And the lid doesn't fall out and the base doesn't fall out. Once you've done that, I always run my fingernail along there just to work the seal one last time. It does seem to help, in spite of everything else I've done. That fingernail to hold it down. Now, I've not made a top at this point, but that's okay. Once I've got it sealed, I'm going to take this and put it in the oven. Put it in the oven and then take it out of the oven, and you've got this. I've already taken the top off. And I just need to remove the cardboard from the inside. And if I look carefully, I can see where the seam is. He said if I look carefully, I can see the seam. I have done such a great job of putting this together. I don't see my seam in there, which is ridiculous because there's got to be one somewhere. Let me find it. There it is. It's got to be this guy. So it should just be a matter of getting in there and pulling this particular triangle loose. And in the process, everything then should come loose from the inside. The bottom of the base is taped a little bit, so I'm going to have to work him and get him out of there. Let's see. Okay, got the tape. I can just take these guys out from the inside, and that is everything that was on the inside of my box is now out, and I have this thing, which is now the base for my box. It's actually going to be the inside of the box. So now the question is, what am I going to do to decorate the outside? First, I've got a little bit of a problem right here. You can see I've got a little piece of clay that's, I don't know if you can see it or not. There's a little bit of clay here that's just hanging out there. So let me clean that up before I start messing with too much, so that I don't make a mess with the outside that I want to be nice and pretty. And yes, it does change shape on you, regardless of what you try to do. It will ultimately change shape because it is want to do that. I've got a little bit of a problem on the base. I'm going to trim that up just a touch. I could have done that before I put in the oven, but I didn't. And so we have to be very careful when we clean up the outside afterwards. Okay, now I've got a nice box. As I said, at this point, it's just a matter of how do you want to decorate it? And I had some pieces that are off camera that I was going to use to decorate it with. He said, and I have successfully buried them. Aha. Not sure how this is going to work. Put a crackle look on the outside of that. How about if I use a different crackle? We've got some different crackles over here. Let's take a look. See what I think of this one. We're probably going to put different crackles on different sides of the box. See how that one looks. Another option I'm thinking about, I think I may try it. Because what I can do is I can then put something additional inside there. Let's see what I've got else that I would play with. I've got this, and I've got this. Got a little bit of malachite lying around here. So let's take a little bit of malachite I have left over from a previous demonstration. and add it to the mix. And I will condition that. It looks pretty. Okay. Here is a sheet that once was a nice block of malachite. Let's add that in here as well. So if I cut a little ribbon out of this malachite, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to end up doing, but let's just try cutting something out of him and try to get something that's somewhat shaped to be quasi-symmetric, because I tend to make things symmetric. Let me take this guy and put him on there. And this is baked clay, so I'm going to put just a touch of liquid Sculpey on this face. He said, I'm going to put a touch of liquid Sculpey on this face. And nothing ever goes right when you do a demo. Okay, there's a little bit of liquid Sculpey on that face to help things glue together. And then I'm going to take this guy, put him on there, about like that. I wonder if I could. I like that idea. Sorry, I'm changing my plan in the middle of my demo. Never a good plan, never a good thing to do. We'll actually cover about 3 sides. So I'm going to actually put him on 3 sides. So that I save myself a little bit of time. Okay, he should cover from there to there. And with the liquid clay, he's going to stay 2, 3. Yes, we got 3 sides. Okay. I will keep him in place. I could. I've got some options here. Because I could put this guy in, coming down. It's a little too fat. Let me make him narrow. I'll put a narrow ribbon like that. I don't like that look. Let's try it and see what we think. I'm going to put him in there. So I need to cut this guy so that he will fit in there. Since the box is baked, I can press against it while I cut, which is nice, because it means it will be easy to deal with. Down, about like that. And that guy should then be cut all the way through and just lift out. That is my expectation. However, in a demo, things never work the way you expect, regardless of how many times you've tried it ahead of time. But there we go, got him. And I destroyed my box in the process. Down. 'Cause Cut that, get that loose. Come on, come on. It does help if you talk to the clay. It likes to know that you're paying attention to it. Got him. Okay. Now we're going to put this guy in place, in that place there. I was, huh? So he goes in there about like that. He is not fitting that well, so I'm going to have to work him up just a little bit more. I'm going to make him a little thicker, see if I can get him about the same thickness as the guy piece behind him. Make him a little bit wider too, so that I can fold him and get him adjusted for the space that I want him to go into. Well, I'm just having way too much fun with this. One more time. Okay, got that right. You go in there, you come along there. I need a mark. There's my mark. Okay, you need to be trimmed to fit that way. I put a mark on there. And now you go in again. It seemed like a great idea when I first tried it. Worked easy. There we go. Now we got him in. Not quite. He's just a little bit off over here. And there we go. Okay. Now he's in. Here we are. Got him in. He's where he needs to be. See what a few cracks I created. Fortunately, fingernails are wonderful for that job. That works fine over there. What I'm going to do is randomly cut along this edge and try to come up with something to put up against him so that I don't have to worry about him. I'm going to come over here. Oops, the top is getting to be an issue, so we're going to have to just come along and use my clay blade, cut along the top so that I get a lot of the excess pieces out of the way. And there we go. Now we're starting to see what it was I was going for. We've got that shape started. Okay, so there we are. So far, we've got maybe 3 sides done, a little bit of touch up here and there. And go ahead over here and put another block of malachite in there. I could, that's an interesting idea. I've got several options at this point. I've got some other crackled clay I've got, and I'm looking at putting those in there. I'm thinking about putting something else in there, or maybe a big block of the malachite on this edge. So I could put him over there. Actually starting there and running him around for a ways. Let me see what that looks like. So we'll take the malachite. Get a mark for where he needs to be. Okay, we're going to take the malachite again and get a mark for where he needs to be. Should be able to press down and get a good image. There he is. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a little line right along here. It should be where the malachite and the crackle overlapped. I should be able to cut right along that line and bring this guy back and put him up against the crackle and get him settled in there, just like that. Except I forgot to put liquid clay on there. And the liquid clay is not behaving today either. There we go. Liquid clay down. I just need a very thin layer. I don't need a lot. Spread around with my finger. I put on my trousers so my wife can yell at me when she does the laundry. No, I won't do that. Partially because she's listening just off camera. Okay, put the malachite in there. Get him pressed down on those sides that I just worked on. You can see I've got a small problem with the malachite down on this edge. So I'm going to have to make some adjustments. I've got a crease right here, so I will cut along that crease. And take this guy and move him just a little bit to cover the issues that we're having. Okay, and that piece will then go in there. The seam, get him laid down. And then cut along, I'm going to cut along this crease right here. Okay, that's looking good. I may be doing things off camera, and if I am, I apologize. I'm focusing on what I'm doing and not keeping my hands fully inside the camera. But
actually, no, it's full.
Okay, good. Hi, Alex.
Hi, how are you? Sorry, I joined late.
That's okay.
Couldn't find the email link to join. But here I am.
I occasionally have trouble with the email link myself. Okay. Fortunately, I'm recording this whole thing, so it will all be set up on YouTube sometime this evening, I hope. If I can get myself coordinated and get things done right, it should work out. Excuse me. Okay, I've got a little bit of piece here that I need to do something with. I'm going to just, I don't know what I want to do. Let's do this. Although a straight line was going to be easier to work with. Now I need to put something in there. And I haven't a clue what I'm going to use. I know what would be good. If I take this guy and put him, yeah, we'll do that. So if I take this guy, he's going to be enough I can come in at about that angle with him. Cut him at about that angle. Trim up this piece. And what, Bob? Oh, and put him on top. Make sure I've got clean edges. This is just detail. You can decorate this box any way you want. I'm just trying to come up with something. And I've got a lot of scrap pieces of clay lying around, so I'm trying to get rid of them in all honesty. Okay, I'm going to put that guy in there. Hide the seam. I've got a seam there. I could actually wrap that guy all the way around, but I don't want to do that. What I want to do is put some liquid clay in there. I should know better. I think by now I would have figured out that I need to keep working the liquid clay into this thing, because these pieces are falling off the box quite easily. But here we go. Okay. Put that guy in there. Work the seam, work the edge down. Come in here, clean that up just a touch. I'm going to take cut out of here. Pull that piece off. You said, yes, there we go. Got that piece off. And I'm going to try and find one more piece of malachite that I can throw into there so that I've got something in there that will look halfway decent. Put the box down and then work the malachite. Thank you. That works better that way. I think my malachite's about to die. I have to make a new batch. Okay. That. I have a little bit here. I'm off camera. I'm just trimming this guy up. He's a little thin, so I'm adding the thickness to him so that I've got a little bit of a thicker piece. Like that side the best. So we'll put him down. Press down a little bit so I get a good impression. That will tell me where I need to put him when I'm done. How to trim him up. Should be able to, oh, there we go. That will lift him off. And if I look carefully, I can see it looks like I need to trim along there. And along here. And that should get me close where I can get him in. Work him in just a little bit with the fingers and thumb. A little bit extra on this side, but that's okay. I can boot him a little bit, get him in there. That piece is a problem. I didn't get him trimmed well. So we'll come down, trim him about like that, and that should be what he needs. Okay, and with a little bit of pressure, he will go in there. And it will be nice and snug. Come along with my blade. I can just, if you use the sharp edge of the blade, it works better. There, trim that up. Got scraps here and there. Get him out of the way. So now we've got most of the box taken care of. The bottom is easy. Again, you just need to decide what you're going to do with it. It can be simple, it can be complex, it can be anything you want. And again, I've got a lot of crackle lying around here. Let me see if I can find a piece that might look good on the bottom of this. So if I take that, cut him a little bit. It doesn't quite fit, but that's okay. Because you can't tell this, but he's a little thin. So I'm gonna take another piece of clay. This piece, a piece of gold clay. They're both raw, so we'll just put them one on top of the other, put them together. Trim it up a little bit. Now, if I roll this through the pasta machine, it should crackle a little bit more, get it a little bit thinner, and stretch it out a little bit so that it will fit on the bottom of my box. That is the plan. I need it to go that way. So I'm going to put it in the pasta machine this way. Oops. Is it big enough? Yeah. Start off in the wrong setting. You can see I put a little too much crackle over there. But if I can trim that up a little bit, trim that piece off, throw a little liquid clay on the bottom of the box. There we go. So everything works nice, get in there clean. This liquid clay is great. Really makes a nice adhesive. Okay, got that on there. That should hold it. Get my paper towel off camera and bite my fingers. And then I'm going to just, actually what I really need to do, because I'm never going to get that edge to look right, I just need to do intentionally something for the edge. Because if you make it look like you intended for it to look that way, then everyone thinks it's great. If you try to hide it, it looks like you tried to hide it. So I'm going to clean this guy up. I'm going to trim him to where he's just a touch smaller than the actual base. And then I'm going to come in with some gold clay. Got some gold clay here. We'll run it through the pasta machine a few times. Actually, what would really be nice, Bob, well, let's think about that. If I roll him out into a very thin string of clay, ooh, no, don't do that. Sorry, I'm confusing myself with several ideas. I'm just going to take this guy. Now, I decided what I really want is a really, really, really thin string of clay. So I'm going to try and get him run out to one long thin string, and then I'm going to take two of them, put them together, put a little quarter on the bottom of that box. And you will see what I'm talking about in just a minute, because I'm getting close to this thing having about the right thickness for what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep it just on my fingertips, because if I roll my knuckles over this, then I put indentations on it, and I'm pulling out slightly with my fingers as I'm rolling. You can probably tell that. So I now have a fairly long string, which I hope is long enough to go around the bottom of the box. Not quite. So let me continue doing this for just a few more minutes while I get this guy worked out thin. You know, as you work it, you can kind of you can see how thick it is, and if there's any thick spots or thin spots. You get a thin spot, you can actually push them together. And if you've got thick spots, you can work them down to where they get thin again, where they're the same thickness as everybody else. And I can stretch it out a little bit once I turn it into a cord. So I don't need to be very exacting on that. So we got a long string here, and I'm going to then cut it, double up. I'm going to cut right here in the middle of the loop with the sharp edge of the blade. So I now have two cords. And I'm just going to twist them together. It helps if you press them together as you are twisting them together. There we go. That is holding them together. We've got a little bit of green clay mixed in, I can see as I go. Well, it happens. And once I've got this thing fully twisted, I am probably going to do a little bit of work to make him a little thinner, because this is thicker than I intended. And I probably need more clay anyway. So I'm going to roll him out a little bit more. I just need a thin cord. I don't need a heavy, thick cord. I'm just trying to hide what I did on the bottom. Okay, let's see, that's going to fit. That will go all the way around, and it's still thicker than I want. So I'm going to continue to thin him down and get him twisted. As I'm thinning him, I'm losing a lot of my twisty look. That happens sometimes. Anyway, what I'm going to end up doing, other than cleaning up boo-boo I see here, where the seams didn't quite match up, I'm going to try and put this guy around here somehow and hide the seam on the bottom. If I don't like what I'm doing, I'm probably going to take him off camera and try something else. But for now, we'll just take a look and see what I think of this technique. Give me an idea of something you can do to hide it. If you're trying to figure out if you've got something you don't want to look, you don't want to, got a seam you're having trouble with. Yeah. So there, we've got a twisty quarter on the base, hiding the seam, where I've got two different types of crackle coming together. So hide that. Okay, so far so good. Got the box reasonably well made. Trim that up, clean up the lid. I've been known on occasion to put a little piece of gold or bronze or something around the lid to hide where things come together. it is something you might want to consider if you're making one of these. But the biggie, a real trick here, is what I refer to as the perfectly fit lid. Now, the way you do that is fairly simple. Here's my box. Some gold clay. Yes, you know me, I have gold clay lying around. Surprise, surprise. For those of you that don't know me that well, I do a lot of things with gold and with the mica clays because I just like the effects I can get with them. So working this guy up off camera, kind of get what I'm looking for. I'm not going to make a lid at this time, but I will show you how I do it, so you got an idea. So I've got a sheet of gold clay. Okay, I've got a sheet of gold clay. Now this lid, the box is pretty much going to hold its shape at this point. It's been baked, it's cooled, and it's reasonably close to square. It's not perfectly square, but it's fairly close. You can see my tile doesn't do too bad running through there. It's a little bit different shape. Some of the sides bulge in just a touch. What I'm going to do is take this, put it face down on the gold clay, and I'm going to press firmly. You really want to push the corners and right along the sides, because you're trying to get a very solid impression into the gold clay. Got a little flick of something right there that doesn't belong. So while I'm seeing it, I'm going to try and take him out. Okay. Hopefully I've pushed down firmly enough that I can see where he is. And you probably can't see on camera, but there is an impression in this gold clay of where that frame fit. So I am simply going to cut just inside those lines, just barely inside. If I cut on the lines, it's going to be too wide and it won't fit. And I've got to use my knife because this line is not straight. So we cut just inside the line following the curve. The corners are rounded, so you want to make sure you round the corners in following the curve. And cut, cut, cut. See, the corner comes in there, comes around, does that little thing, and whoops, didn't quite do that. It's more that shape along there. So now I've got that piece. Now it is important to remember that this is actually the inside where everything fits. What am I talking about? That's a good question. That side has to be the inside face of my lid, so that when I am putting things together here in just a minute, let me just give you some ideas of what I'm doing. I'm going to take this. This is going to be the actual outside of the lid. So I'm going to put a little bit of decoration on it because it is what I do, because everyone's expecting something out there. And I don't want everyone to be bored watching me do something odd. So I'm just going to do this quickly. Those of you that know me know exactly what I'm doing. If you've been watching my videos, you've seen me do this 2 or 3 times. We've got a little bit of a color there. So that is going to be, that's actually, this is the top of my lid. So this is going to be inside. And I want this piece to sit on top of that. And I want, since this is where I push down, that piece has got to sit, that, so yeah. I turned the box upside down, pushed it in. So this has got to stay as the very bottom of my lid, because otherwise it's going to be flipped over and won't fit anywhere. Now, the lid needs to be, I need a lip on the lid. So I want this guy to be just a little bit bigger. And I tend to make him square just because I like nice regular shapes. I'm going to cut him, about 1/8 of an inch or so bigger than the piece that I made. If you want, you can round the corners out. I typically end up doing that, doing something to the corner just so they're not pointy things, because there are no sharp corners anywhere on this box by the time you're done. And this lid should, if I did it right, sit on the box just like that. And that it does. It will not fit any other orientation, just that one particular orientation that I set him for. So I will then take these pieces, put the box on one tile and put the lid on another. I'm actually going to take a paper towel and put him under the lid, and another paper towel and put him under the box. Because if you don't put a paper towel down there, it's going to be really shiny, and I don't particularly want shiny for this thing. Anyway, that is once I bake this and maybe do a little bit of cleanup, a little bit of touch up here and there, that's going to be a 8-sided square box with a perfectly fit lid. Because I'm not happy with my rope, I may end up redoing that before I bake it. I'll come up with something else I want to do and show you those results next week or next month. And so with that, let me stop the recording. I'm going to pause the recording.